Why is it that an invisible controversy is so hard to see? Tell me this. Do you feel like I do? Like trying to be young and thin and fit and sexy is a losing battle? Why all this focus on something that's so insignificant to the real meaning in life? Today we're going to hear from a man who has dedicated his life to making sure the bodies get the respect they deserve. Tim Holmes is a well-known figurative sculptor, filmmaker, and philosopher. Tim, welcome.
Oh man, that'll never work. If you don't mind my saying. I mean, you got to grab them right from the get-go, or else people just change the channel.
I didn't expect you to start tossing crockery bombs.
Oh man, that thing really exploded. Jeez.
That's too bad. It would have been a great metaphor for the fragility of the human body, but it really only works if you don't bust it.
Well, you should have told me that before I knocked it off.
I didn't realize how clumsy you are.
Oh, thanks for recognizing my talent. No, I'm just thinking, you got to maybe engage the audience in a conflict that they can understand right away. Something really immediate that has to do with their own lives.
Now you're the one talking nonsense.
And you can save that voice until we're rolling, huh?
Okay, smart arse, you give it a go.
What, me?
Yeah, sure, here, take my seat. Try not to break the furniture.
Well, okay. Well, I was thinking something like, hello, my name is Garret Garrels, and if you're like me, you've got a serious body issue. According to Tim Holmes, we all have body issues. In fact, there's not one of us who doesn't have to deal with aging or appearance or weight or some other health issue that oftentimes is the most important thing in our lives, but we can't talk about it. But today, we're going to spend the next half hour talking about this topic and the Body Psalms Project, which is a series of short, controversial films, and we'll be having a conversation with its creator, Tim Holmes. How about that?
Well, thank you, Garret. Thanks for not calling attention to my personal issue. Okay, here, I have just the response for your wonderful introduction. My name is Tim Holmes, and I'm here to talk to you about something very important. In fact, it's so important that you're not going to think it's very important at all. But it is important, because it's not unimportant. You make it sound like we're all half crazy, which in present company is true. Allow me to demonstrate with this fine vase.
Well, Tim, you clumsy idiot, you've destroyed our best example. Now we're going to have to come up with something brand new.
Here, let's just start with a story about Tim Holmes. Tim Holmes is an internationally known sculptor. He's the first American artist ever to exhibit solo at the world's largest museum, the Hermitage in St. Petersburg, Russia. He's done many peace awards, such as the Physicians for Social Responsibility and even the United Nations. 15 years ago, he embarked on creating a series of films called Body Psalms, reevaluating the flesh in a capitalist world. Tim, can you tell us how the films came about?
So am I Tim now?
Yeah.
So who are you, the producer?
No, I'm myself.
We got the producer's hat on.
This is my hat.
Well, Jeannie, what'd you do with the producer?
It's none of your business why I'm
Who's in
wearing it.
control of this thing?
Besides, now you're in my seat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now that you have the barrister's wig on, defend yourself.
Well, okay, so after exhibiting sculptures for most of my life, I began to see that there's this veil that exists between us and our own experience of our flesh. I'm trying to figure out where does this come from? Why is it that the value of the body is diminishing? So I started looking at the culture, and I realized, this was a culture founded by Puritans, who are people that are terrified that somebody somewhere is having a good time. And then on top of that value system, we sandwich another value system which comes from capitalism, in which there's nothing sacred, right? So it's like a pornographic value system. And we are expected to live our body lives out, smashed in between these two. It's like we're stuck in the doors of the elevator. Oh, can somebody give me a hand over here?
No, but I like what you did to your face.
I want to show us maybe an introduction to the film series. So let's see what we got here.
Better than what we just did.
Here you go.
There's a strange thing happening in America with the concept of the image of the body, in that, like most other things in a capitalist world, the body becomes commodified. It becomes something that is bought and sold. And that becomes part of the American psyche. When we look at the image of a body, we tend not to think of the meaning, the layers of meaning of the body. We tend to be used to seeing the body as it's used in advertising.
This lesson provides this session necessary for this true confession. I am not the person I portray myself to be. I would like to be a person of freedom, unbound by chains of reason, redeemed from the cycle of a fetish, a kink caught on thinking low, thinking slow, thinking no.
What I'm trying to do with this work is present an image of how we can positively live a sensuous life, be able to look at beautiful flesh in a sacred way, not having to participate in the kind of exploitation that appears in advertising pornography, which are usually the ways that we see the body.
Well, I'm an artist, right?
I don't have any reputation to uphold.
Tim has accomplished something with body songs that I have never seen accomplished before. It was shown in my church. It was an incredible experience. I think for the first time, people took worship in a different way.
What would our audience gain by our presentation of his work in our organization? Especially when you're bringing liturgical ideas, combining that with the human form. I don't see him as out there trying to provoke people. Rather than being provocative, I think the place that Tim is coming from is trying to be evocative.
Einige berühmte Künstler, ich denke, sind nicht beste Künstler. Und sie haben eine große Renommee und so weiter, aber es ist besser, finden andere Meister, zum Beispiel auch Tim Holmes, welche sind wahrscheinlich wenig bekannt, aber sehr interessant.
The reason I've gravitated toward filmmaking out of sculpture is I really wanted to engage in a kind of social engineering. I don't think people want to hear what my opinion is. I don't want to just deliver a statement. I want to ask the viewer a pointed question that is so compelling that the viewer must respond to the question, in a world where we are tempted to become commodities ourselves, what is the real value of the flesh?
Wunderbar, Team.
Das gibt eine gute Projektsoberschrift, aber wir müssen eine
Genie,
gute Geschichte
you got us on the
sehen.
German version?
Dieser Film von einem
Sorry, here you
Hochschule
go.
Werkstatt. So that film gives us a good overall view of the whole project.
I like it. It's a good way to start. I think this is where we need to have the story about Tim Holmes.
A story?
Always another story. Here, I'll give you the introduction. Talk
Okay.
just as if we're rolling. And here is the Duke of Slim, Tim Holmes.
Well, several years ago, I got a commission to do a sculpture for a church in Florida, a big bronze. And I was very surprised when among the designs that I presented to them, they chose a nude couple. I thought, wow, this is a progressive church. But then when I presented the little maquette, they rejected it. And I said to them, well, why is that? Because that's exactly what you ordered. And their reply was, yes, we knew it would be nude, but we didn't think it would be that nude. So I'm trying to figure out, what is this hatred of the body that we all carry around with us? Over the years, I've made over 500 sculptures of bodies, but it seemed to me that I'm kind of losing my audience to some degree, because Americans today don't see the body as a symbol like it's been used in art throughout history. We tend to see it as meat, as this kind of flattened, depersonalized image.
But that's too technical.
Oh.
We need something more simple.
Well, one of the weird things about this is I discovered to my surprise that I can't show the films anywhere.
Okay. Now we're talking. It's like the subject itself is important because it applies to everyone that has a body. But we need to address it in the form of the story. I mean, you've tried to address it in all these different ways and it didn't work.
Yeah.
How many ways have you tried to address it already?
In my TED Talk, The Erotic Crisis, I talk about it as my story. In the exhibitions, I usually present it as a social problem. And I've even tried to write a scholarly paper about how it really presents an existential threat to humanity.
And now we're going to approach it in this lame TV episode.
Yeah. I'm a slow learner. What can I say?
Let me tell you, here's how we're going to approach it. The story is the story. So let's address it with that first question that I talked about today.
Oh, yeah, I remember. What was it? Haven't you had enough pancakes?
Oh, that was earlier. Focus. The invisible controversy. Why is the controversy invisible?
Well, it's not that the films themselves are so controversial, but they bring up very uncomfortable questions. So as soon as we raise the questions, then all these taboos come up. So I went to what I thought of as a natural audience for talking about the sanctity of the flesh, the church. And I knew they'd be maybe a little squeamish about the body, but guess what? Molto squeamicioso! So I took the same films into art museums, and they're fine with the images of the body, but they get really freaked out with the religious references. So as it turns out, I just can't show them anywhere.
The country's still free, isn't it?
Well, we like to think so, but there are certain things that we cannot address in public space, and the value of the flesh is one of them.
You're losing me. Let's stick with we need a story. Jeannie, don't you think we need another story? See? She thinks so too.
Okay, so I've got a niece who just turned 12 years old. Every day of her life, she's going to be exposed to the advertising from what I think of as a poisonous culture, particularly for young girls. And what advertising does, it's sort of the lifeblood of capitalism, because it causes us to feel like we're just not adequate the way we are. In fact, the worst thing for a capitalist society is a happy person, because they don't buy anything. It could be that one day she comes home from middle school with some kind of flesh-eating disease like anorexia, or she starts cutting herself because she knows she can never live up to these images that she sees in the media every day. Yeah, it's like a contemporary form of a witch burning.
You're definitely not saying that on the air.
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that.
Okay, so the advertising and the social pressures, they make it seem like we really value our bodies, but it's all superficial, right? It's like we try as hard as we can to fit our bodies into this image of perfect, but no matter how hard we try, even if our emotional and mental bodies fit.
Yeah, our physical bodies don't fit.
Yeah,
right? So there's really no institution or voice that stands up for the body except for the person. So we live in a nation where even the Supreme Court tells us that you don't even have to have a body anymore to be considered a person. So for example, we Christians believe that the body is the temple of God. And yet, the historical church has treated the body as though it were a plaything of the devil. So right there, you have this fundamental conflict between the values of the institution and the values of the individuals who inhabit it. So the law treats a corporation like a person with a body, but I'm telling you, I've never seen a body with so many asses.
Ooh. So what you're saying with these films is that every person's body is beautiful in some way, and that it's also sacred in the sense that it's too valuable to be exploited for any reason, whether it's from toxins in the environment, the effects of advertising, the diminishing sense of our own human worth, right?
Yeah.
But it seems to me that you could diffuse some of the tension. I mean, what's with the religious texts?
Well, I really like the language. I mean, I'm digging into the roots of the culture, trying to find the reason why the body is diminishing in value. And, Western culture is rooted in religious principles. So it's really the only sector that has words for things like sacred or holy. So what I'm looking at is a universal principle. We all maybe call the origin that we come from different things, maybe God or nature, but we come from something larger than ourselves, Garret. And think about this. Why is it that when a person sells their body, we call that prostitution, and we think of it as a moral violation? It's because we have this deep sense of the value of the human body. I'll tell you, just between you and me, Garret, there's only one difference between a living and a dead person, and that is the existence of a healthy, breathing body. But we tend to think that we own our bodies kind of like we own our cars, like an object. But what happens if you suddenly break your example and make a fool of yourself on TV. Ah, thank God the cameras weren't running.
Yeah, that would have been the height of embarrassment.
Well, not for you. I noticed you laughed your slacks off.
You know what they say. One man's tragedy is another man's paycheck.
Who says that?
Capitalists?
Capitalists, schmackalists. This whole thing would be different.
All right. Focus. Why is the flesh devalued?
Well, for instance, look at the way we interact with our pets. You know, if a friendly animal comes up to you, the natural response is to just reach out and touch it, right? Animals love to be touched. We love to be touched. But what if people did that? You know, hi, I'm Tim Holmes.
I'm Garret Garrels.
Oh, Garret, how are you, buddy? Oh, look at this, a nice coat. Hey, how you doing? Oh, you're a good boy. We can't do that in front of the TV audience. The people would think we're loonies.
We? So your answer is to treat people like dogs?
Well, I don't know about them, but no, I'm just saying that once we realize how we treat our pets, we can see how uptight about our own bodies we are. But geez, how do you get that idea across to the television audience, especially without slobbering on them?
That's not going to work. Let's stick with the story thing. Like, throw them a story bone. And I'll stop being a dog.
Yeah. Go lie down.
All right, so now we're on to talking about the stuff that we can't show anywhere else on TV. But, I mean, it's on TV. Aren't you afraid somebody's going to come after you?
I'm not trying to foist these films off on anybody. You know, I'm not even trying to make money with them. They're a gift of art. I'm just trying to raise the conversation. But, you know, this is still Montana, so people can feel free to shoot at their screens. You know, let's go with another film, shall we?
Yeah, this is getting pretty philosophical. Let's show, I mean, you got enough of them. What do you have, 17?
Yeah, they're all about different issues. You know, some of them are more intense than others. But we could show one about aging. How's that?
Aren't you a bit overqualified to talk about aging?
Absolutely, you young snapper whipper.
I didn't think you'd hear that. Okay, Tim, show us another flim.
What?
I'm just reading my script. It says, okay, Tim, show us another flim.
Well, here, Stedgehead, change it.
I can't change my script. Oh, this is my script. My script is sacred.
Well, let me help you with that. Here, go fetch. While you're making fun of our special guest, I'll share a work of art with our audience. Huh?
So we're tight on me too, picking up from the film. I'd say that's a rather beautiful film. In fact, I don't see anything contentious about it. In fact, Tim, why are you balancing a stick on your head?
Oh, sorry, I was just checking for early onset Alzheimer's. No, I'm thinking that
Should have checked that a long time ago.
young people we tend to see as beautiful. Old people may be wise, but certainly not beautiful. But the fact is that nobody's 100% anything, beautiful or ugly or bald for that matter. All of us are somewhere in between. And even the most respected supermodels, when they appear in those ads, they still have to be airbrushed. So it's like, it's an impossible body image. So our primary job is to be happy with who we are. And that doesn't mean never improving. It means losing that unrealistic ideal of what we're supposed to look like. So did you see that old man in there? Even though he's got that big scar down his chest and the big old pacemaker, I just think he's beautiful. He looks like a Greek god.
Isn't that man your dad?
Yeah. I filmed him a couple months before he died. It's one of the smartest things I ever did.
Do you want to talk about that?
No, it's an interesting item, but it doesn't really add to the meaning of the film. That just leads to my philosophy, and who wants to hear philosophy from an artist?
Exactly. But it does make you think, why do we have bodies?
That is a great question. You ought to be an artist. A lot of us act as if the whole point of being alive is just to save time, right? But how many times during the day do you say, oh, I just saved 5 minutes. When am I going to live those 5 minutes I just saved? You know, it's almost like, is that really the purpose of life, just to increase efficiency?
Okay, so you're asking a lot of questions, but this audience is going to be used to hearing answers. They want quick fixes, the magic pill, the ultimate cure for all of our bodily problems, even the gout. What are the questions that you're raising with these films?
Well, you already took the best one. But then I would say, you know, what is the value of the flesh? In an age when we're tempted to exchange a healthy world for a robust economy, or where we're willing to expose our daughters to the ill effects of advertising, you know, it seems like we're treating our pets better than we treat our own bodies.
Why would an artist bring that up?
One thing is technology is increasingly going to tempt us away from our own bodies and eventually urging us to simply upload our personalities to the cloud. And I'm telling you, as you get older, it becomes a little more tempting. But for me, that destroys the human purpose. I mean, this is a real threat to humanity in our time, I feel like, because the more we become mechanical thinkers, the more we're going to disappear into our machines. You know, is that too dark, or can I go ahead and say that?
No, that's too dismal.
Yeah, okay.
Let's stick with why should people pay attention to this right now?
One reason is because time is getting short. I mean, humans, ever since the dawn of creation, have used our intelligence to create machines that separate us from nature, and our bodies as part of that natural order. So we're tempted into this kind of mechanical thinking that becomes more and more a contest between the machine and the body. And the machine appears to be winning, to me. The more we reduce human life to the mechanical principles, like saving time, the more we act like machines. And so we thereby confuse our progress with our purpose. It's the body versus the machine. But the whole point of being alive is to be here right now in these bodies that we have.
Boom! That's it. Hey, it's too bad the camera wasn't rolling. Even if you were a younger version of yourself, you couldn't have said that better. Got my hat back.
Show in 5 minutes.
Oh man, this is the tragedy of the sound bite.
I know, it's a shame everything has to be prepackaged in these little bite-sized McNuggets. Hey, you know what we need here?
Another story?
No. Philosophy.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. See, all right, so you got me. You brought up the questions, and now people need an actionable request. They need to know what they can do. So let's see if you can narrow it down into 3 sentences.
3 sentences, okay. So, like a fish in water, the culture constantly puts pressure on us that devalues our flesh. And this is going to be an increasing problem in the future. But if we have the capacity to see ourselves as beautiful and flesh as sacred, then we'll be able to pull it out of the ditch. I mean, that's 3.
Oh.
I can't make it any more simple than that. You'd have to be pretty thick and pig ignorant not to understand that.
I didn't understand it.
Oh, maybe my stick would help.
But we're going to be out of time, so I'll summarize. In the Body Psalms films, Tim Holmes encourages us to confront the reality that our bodies are faced in a world that is at once pornographic and Puritan. and we have to live in the space in between. He urges us to see that our flesh is sacred by design and is therefore of unspeakable value. His art encourages each viewer to ask for themselves the question, what is the value of my flesh? And what is the purpose of being alive in this body? And then I'll turn to you and say, Tim, tell us what you want the viewers to take away from this experience.
Okay, there are three things. One is convince yourself of the danger of minimizing the value of your own flesh. 2, love your body and don't allow it to be exploited for any reason. And number 3, recognize that all flesh everywhere is sacred. It's more important than money or a healthy economy or a religious dogma or the cult of perfect pottery for that matter. In fact, it's the only thing we own. It's the only home we'll ever have.
Okay, that's all you got?
Well, it's not too late to go out and find another guest, I guess.
But then we'll wrap up. We'll run a fleshy colored text along the bottom of the screen. This is Tim's project, the Body Psalms, his TED Talk, the Erotic Crisis. Yeah. You can see it on YouTube. Jeannie, we got that right? Okay. All we need is a scintillating joke to wrap things up.
Oh, well, what's the difference between a well-dressed corporation and a monkey in a three-piece suit?
What?
It's a tie.
What does that have to do with anything?
Well, nothing, but you just asked for a good joke.
What about your bald spot? That's pretty funny. All right, let's focus. We're wrapping up this important show. We need to have a smash ending.
I hate to tell you this, buddy, but I already smashed our ending. I don't know what we're going to do.
We're just going to have to go with those 3 points you had.
Okay, well, this is Garret Garrels, which rhymes with barrels.
And the bald guy in half a suit is Tim Holmes, which rhymes with nothing. Okay. Then the website will appear. Then we're going to be out. All right. Are you nervous?
Yeah, we're about to go live on TV.
We got all the shrapnel cleaned up? Okay. Ready?
Yeah, as long as, Brian, the camera doesn't go below the belt, huh?
Okay, guys, get ready.
All right.
Okay. Now, promise not to make me laugh. We'll see if we can get through this in one take.
All right. Oh, and you should use a British accent. It's much more dignified.
All right, stand by. We're ready on 5,
See what I can do.
4, 3. Action!